We've talked a lot about spending in line with your values. And before we move on to helping your kids identify their passions, I want to clarify exactly what that spending looks like in practice. At its simplest, spending according to your values means giving yourself permission to spend money on the things that matter to you. It means it's okay, essential even for a life well lived, to spend on things that bring you joy and provide meaning, or both. These things are different for every individual and every family. They also change over time as you grow and the circumstances of your life shift. So the first step is awareness. If something brings you genuine joy or meaning, you should be spending money on it. You shouldn't spend mindlessly, that's never a good tactic, but you do need to spend in ways that allow you to actually enjoy your life now. The flip side of this is being rigorous about the things that don't bring you joy. If you aren't paying attention, it's almost certain you're spending money on things that you could do without with zero decrease in your quality of life. And you've got to be honest with yourself. How many pairs of jeans or bags or adult toys do you really need? Settle on the ones that you really appreciate and stop spending to get more just because you can. Because remember, there's always an opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend on something that doesn't matter is a dollar you can't spend on something that does, or that isn't being put to work for your future and your freedom. So be honest and eliminate or scale back the clutter. Once you know what matters, determine the acceptable amount to spend on those areas. A year is usually a good time frame to use. For example, set a travel budget that makes your life feel good but doesn't compromise your long-term financial plans. You want the right balance. Then allocate that money into specific buckets or accounts, and the more automatic you can make that process, the better. And finally, you have to constantly reevaluate. If you go over budget one month but are generally within your plan, that's all right, it'll even out. But if you're constantly overspending in one area, you need to make a conscious decision. Do we need to up the amount in this category and cut somewhere else? Or do we need to scale back? Whatever the choice, just make it intentional. Also, life changes, so updating each year is necessary to strike the right balance between spending and investing, between living well now and taking care of your future self too. Rinse and repeat this process, do it for a while, and it becomes a habit. And that's when you're off to the races. Okay, so now let's move on to helping your kids identify what they value spending time and money on. One of the best gifts you can give your kids is helping them explore not only what they value, but also what skills and passions they have that they can use to make money. Jonathan and Renee Harris of Parent Their Passion are the absolute best at this. So rather than me trying to summarize it, I'm going to let them explain it. So here are some excerpts from an episode of the FI for Kids podcast that we did together.
It was a bit of that frustration because after all that education and experience, I was still in a field that wasn't really something I had planned on being in. So I was doing a good job, but I wasn't passionate about. And I was thinking, well, how much of a difference would have made had I made some kind of plan early on, and sort of discovered a combination of skills and passion together, right? So you can't just have passion and no skills and vice versa. So why can't we marry the two, figure it out much sooner? Why don't we apply it now to the teens? And so I started experimenting very deliberately, trying some of those methods, modifying it, of course, for a teen. And that's what got us started on down that road.
And Jonathan pointed out that we could find the skill sets and the talents and the interests that the kids have. And in our case, we had a son who was interested in photography. I needed someone to take product shots for the website. And if you're to hire a photographer, you're paying hundreds of dollars. If you have a 12-year-old who's interested but isn't quite there yet, but he loves to do it and get better at it, then you're allowing him to use that time to figure it out and get better at it to the point where now he can take over a little bit of that.
And so every step of the way, our son is discovering what he really likes doing. And we are, as a family, where he's getting all the love from his siblings and his parents for helping them out. So his identity is starting to grow in his skill set. And so that's what we did with each of our kids. There was something that they were, somewhat have a natural bent, but still needed some skills added to it. It's a gradual introduction to whatever it is you like doing, and then pivoting. So he was doing, in the beginning, he's just taking some funny videos. So we were looking, is there something right now he can help other people with that skill? And when he's that young, it's usually your family in some way or another.
Yeah.
As the teens get older, they can venture much further out than our family.
That's one of the main parts, is that you have to find something that's going to bring value to somebody else. And then with him and all of our kids, actually, as they get more and more interested in what they're doing, they want the next big thing that's going to help them out to make it even better. And usually money is involved with that. And so rather than us just like, yeah, okay, here's money, go get a better camera or go get whatever, they have to figure out how can I make my own money. So bringing value is when someone's willing to pay for it as well. So there's a bit of a process with that.
Those little micro things, always constantly looking for how to bring value. And then your kid is getting hooked. He's getting hooked on the next thing and his next interest, right? So we have this positive attitude. It may not work. I think you heard me say that. It may not work.
Yeah.
You prep them for that. It might not work the first time.
But you can coach them through the failures too,
Yeah.
which is the beauty of it. But if it's something that they started out that they really were interested in, but they're getting bumps along the way, go through those bumps with them and then decide whether it's worth it to keep going or to pivot with something else. So, yeah. And then the other part they really learned, thinking of our oldest, is by the time he's 18, now he's making money, he can live on his own. So all of our kids have been able to move out by the time they're 18 and have an income that's supporting them. He had to decide, well, do I want to be my own boss or work for someone else? So that was just, it's nice to know that you can have that opportunity at the age of 18 to decide. And
yeah, it is. And you got from, let's say, 12 to 18. And during that time frame, they have shelter. They're not going to starve. They're, mom and dad's going to, nothing bad is really going to happen to them. Right. So you have time to explore. I think people get that idea, but that time to explore is usually wasted on stuff that most of the time, once they leave high school, they never touch again. That's so common, right? Yep. So what you're looking for, it's not, I think one of the fears that parents have maybe is that they want their kids to, quote, have this wonderful childhood. So in their minds, wonderful childhood translates to you're going to be doing what everybody else is doing because everybody's having a happy time. And there is a truth to it. The reason why you like it is because you're hanging out with friends. There's, better than just sit in front of the TV as a high school student. So I get that. But I think the missing part that a lot of parents don't see is that if you get them connected to something that really lights them up, and not just lights them up, they have the skills to really put themselves out there. That kind of bonding happens not in just some random sport that your school happens to be doing. It happens in something that's really about them, about their personality, their skills, and the strength. So they start bonding with other people in that field. So you get that same effect, but it's an investment in their future.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of understand that, but it's way more powerful than people think of at first. They want their child to have that happy childhood, that bonding and connecting. Do you remember the old days? Well, they can remember the old days, but it's related to really what they're into. And you can make that happen as a parent.
Jonathan and Renee do such a great job with that concept. If you want to learn more, visit their website at parenttheirpassion.com. Sign up for their newsletter and check out the tools and resources they have there. It's well worth your time. Okay, that's it for this week. Please like, subscribe, and share with other parents who want to raise money-smart kids. See you next week when we're going to spend some time talking about investing basics.